Well, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. We've got quite a few stories to go over today. First of all, we're going to be talking about a letter that Attorney General Bill Barr wrote to each U.S. attorney here in the United States, a memo, rather. But he is instructing the state's attorneys to be on the lookout for any violations of the rights of U.S. citizens. We've also got an update on the Durham investigation. Joe DeGeneva is talking about why it's taking so long. And some more good news in the Flynn case. There has been the discovery of a massive trove of documents that his former legal team never turned over to him. And Judge Emmett Sullivan has instructed the DOJ to file a response to Flynn's motion no later than Monday, May 4th. We've also got a clip from an interesting conversation that Bill Clinton and California Governor Newsom had. And finally, we're going to be taking a look at some information revealed about Christopher Steele and some undisclosed meetings he had with the HRC legal team and her campaign. So please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Once wrote, panic is highly contagious, especially in situations when nothing is known and everything is in flux. Well, the world we live in today is in flux, and it's filled with a flood of information that's often as much gossip as fact. Now, that makes it hard to know what the situation really is, and it also makes it easy for people to panic and make bad decisions. The only way not to get caught up in that chaos is to have a plan allowing you to avoid dealing with empty store shelves, long lines, and in the worst case, desperate people. Use today to prepare. A great place to start is storing food in your home, and I'm prepared myself, and I even ordered more recently. Now, the experts at My Patriot Supply have told me that orders have now reached about 100 times the normal volume, and they're shipping on a first-come, first-served basis. With this unprecedented emergency, orders are being delayed, sometimes 8 weeks or more. I urge you to add your order to mine today, because the sooner you order, the sooner you can get your purchase. Take action so you're ready for what's coming and save $70 on a 2-week emergency food kit when you go to my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. Those that know what's coming are preparing today. Go to preparewithredpill78.com. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, today we're going to be discussing this memo that Attorney General Barr has directed to the state's attorneys in each state, which went out, I believe, earlier today. Now, what he's done is he's put them on notice. He's told them to be on the lookout for any abuses of power by government officials during this CV-19 situation that we find ourselves in. Now, some excellent examples of that. Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan had tried to extend the lockdown for another 70 days, and the Michigan State Senate heartily disagreed with her. They knocked that down, and it's only going to be going until April 30th. Also, in the state of Illinois, the governor there had attempted to extend the lockdown and put some really draconian restrictions on the residents, and a state judge has also knocked that down. But what Bill Barr did was call out the U.S. attorneys for each of these states, telling them to please be aware of any abuses of power that might be going on right now that people are taking advantage of. Specifically, he said that the United States Constitution is still in effect during the midst of all of this. Now, a disturbing number of state and local officials have issued unconstitutional lockdown orders in response to CV-19, and I know that a lot of patriots out there have been very nervous about this fact. Now, I kind of want everybody to recall what Secretary of State Pompeo said when he let the governors of this fine nation know that there was a list that had been put together by the CCP talking about who was most likely to be sympathetic to the goals and wishes of the CCP. I think that this is an opportunity for the federal government to take a look at each of these governors and see who is going to be more willing than others to put in some CCP-style restrictions, thereby trampling all over the U.S. Constitution. This move by Attorney General Barr, in my eyes, restores the faith of the people of this nation, knowing that the federal government is paying attention to what's going on and letting them know that their constitutional rights are not going to be forgotten. As I've stated several times in recent days, this was a one and done. There is no way that the government is going to be able to get away with this ever again. And especially now that the U.S. attorneys are paying attention to what the governors are doing, I think that it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to continue with these unconstitutional restrictions. Now, he said, as the Department of Justice explained recently in guidance to states and localities taking steps to battle the pandemic, even in times of emergency, when reasonable and temporary restrictions are placed on rights, the First Amendment and federal statutory law prohibit discrimination against religious institutions and religious believers. So specifically here, talking about the restrictions placed on people going to their houses of worship on whatever day of the week they like to go. There was some disturbing footage that had been circulated of police officers arresting people trying to go to church and worship on Sunday. Now, he continues, for example, the Constitution also forbids in certain circumstances discrimination against disfavored speech and undue interference with the national economy. If a state or local ordinance crosses the line from an appropriate exercise of authority to stop the spread of CV-19 into an overbearing and infringement of constitutional and statutory protections, the Department of Justice may have an obligation to address that overreach in federal court. Now, I feel that is a fairly firm statement that he's making, a warning to the governors of this country, showing them that the state's attorneys are going to be paying attention, and if need be, they will be brought into court. I know that for myself, this makes me feel a lot better about the situation. I think that there are several governors here in this country that have really overstepped their bounds. Specifically, Mississippi was one of those states that singled out churchgoers while permitting citizens to attend a nearby drive-in restaurant. How does that click? It doesn't. There's no logic to that decision, except for the fact that they were trying to infringe upon people's rights to worship, and it was really a clear violation of our Constitution. Also, Governor Whitmer of Michigan, Gavin Newsom of California, retaliating against citizens who dare to leave their homes, go to the beach, go to the parks. But Whitmer, as I said, has been specifically dealt with by the Michigan State Senate. Now, one more thing, I just want to show you guys a tweet from Jim Jordan. All right, and Jim Jordan, if you're not following him on Twitter, is a great source. He does a really wonderful job of getting information like this out to the public. As soon as things are declassified, or as soon as he gets the okay to publish letters such as this, he does it. Now, the Attorney General is right. He says we can't forget freedom during the CV-19 crisis. So that link for the article and this link for this specific memo from Attorney General Barr will both be in the pinned comment below, along with all the other articles I'm about to go through. Now, back on the subject of unconstitutional orders from the governors of certain states, it appears that the Clintons want to recruit an army of contact tracers that will hunt down infected individuals and interrogate them about who they associate with so they can be quarantined in a dignified manner. Apparently, they've already begun to hire people for this insane job. This is straight out of 1984. They're going to hire people who are out of work due to this CV-19 situation. They're going to put them to work spying on their fellow citizens. Gavin Newsom and Bill Clinton had a conversation about it on what looks to be the Clinton Global Initiative University. This is probably on their website. It's a very scary prospect, and this is just the type of thing that Bill Barr was warning about in his memo. All right, now next, Joe DeGenova touching on the Durham investigation yet again, reminding us that this is a big deal. He's actually investigating the greatest crime in American history. Now, he was being interviewed on a radio program, and he had this to say. He said, remember what U.S. Attorney John Durham is doing. He's deconstructing the Mueller-Weissman inquiry. This investigation by Durham will show conclusively that the Mueller-Weissman investigation was a fraud, that it was never intended to find a crime, that it was intended to entrap the president to get an impeachment for a false statement if he gave an interview, which of course his lawyers and lawyers like us told him never to do, never give that information. So this is why it's taking time. he is unraveling one of the greatest Gordian knots in the history of this country. It's going to take some time to destroy this narrative that Mueller, his 13 angry Democrats, and most of the Democratic establishment here in the United States crafted and concocted over the course of the last couple of years. And it's not just Mueller and Weissman, it's Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Sally Yates, it's the former president, and most importantly, it's also HRC. And I would say probably the vast majority of the National Security Council, which was exactly what General Michael Flynn was going to unravel himself. So very important to keep this in mind. There is so much going on. This being such a massive crime and an entrapment scheme by the people involved will necessitate an equal and opposite investigatory effort on behalf of John Durham and his team. People are not going to get away with it. They will pay for their crimes against not only America and President Donald Trump, but the people of this nation. Now, speaking of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn and crimes committed, Flynn's former lawyers, Covington and Burling, have turned over another trove of documents, 17,000 documents that were previously not provided to Michael Flynn, thereby proving the case that he was given ineffective counsel with his first legal team. Now, Covington and Burling have just recently turned over thousands of more pages of documents that Flynn's defense team should have had access to from the very beginning. Now, last week, another batch of documents withheld by former special counsel Robert Mueller's team on Flynn was turned over to his counsel and to the court, and the information contained therein proved the fact that Michael Flynn committed no crimes. Now, the new batch of documents includes volumes of text messages, emails, notebooks, and handwritten notes and legal documents. Now, it was revealed in early April that Flynn's former team had some documents that they needed to turn over because Judge Emmett Sullivan demanded that they turn over the entire file to Sidney Powell so that she could review it and go over it. Now, 6 months ago, Judge Sullivan had demanded the former legal team turn over all of those documents. Apparently, they had some type of a technical difficulty and were unable to get them turned over. They did turn over volumes of documents, but even at that time, it was discovered that not everything was present. He also threatened them with a hearing before the District of Columbia Ethics Council, probably because of the fact they were giving him ineffective counsel. And Sidney Powell is livid about the fact that they didn't find the information and turn it over earlier. It's almost as if they were holding it back on purpose. Now, this is an excellent time to bring up that Covington and Burling have an association with former Attorney General Eric Holder, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Now, surely I jest. However, I think it's absolutely no coincidence that Powell only finally obtained these documents after the DOJ did an extensive review of the case against Michael Flynn, after U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr appointed a special counsel to look over it. Also, it should be noted that several prosecutors from the office of the Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen are also helping out St. Louis U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Jensen. Now, I have one more piece of information with regards to this case. Let's take a look. With regard to that motion to dismiss and the declaration from General Flynn, Judge Sullivan has set a deadline by no later than 12 p.m. on Monday, May 4th. Now, Flynn should file his reply no later than noon on the 6th. In regards to whatever it is the DOJ has to say. Now, seeing as how the exculpatory information recently turned over the court should exonerate Flynn entirely, and the fact that we've got the Assistant Attorney General and his office as well as a special prosecutor looking into this matter, I find it very hard to believe that the DOJ is going to be able to do anything other than completely dismiss this case with prejudice and exonerate Michael Flynn. Unfortunately, this is going to put us outside the window of Maria Bartiromo's prediction that his exoneration would come this week. But either way, I see it as a major win. This is great news for General Flynn, and we'll keep our eyes peeled to see what happens next. Now, I also want to show this clip that my buddy Methods was able to grab from Hannity last night. He was having a discussion with Sidney Powell, and apparently the documents they've received are not even the end of it. There is more to come, and every single piece of paper makes it more and more likely that General Flynn will be exonerated completely. Let's take a look.
Can we expect that or read into the hiring of more staff and prosecutors by Prosecutor Durham as a sign that things are ratcheting up for justice?
Well, it certainly looks like he's on the right track, and the disclosure of these documents and the advice that more are to come is going to help from all angles. It's the first step toward restoring integrity and credibility to the Department of Justice and the FBI to have this information exposed. The U.S. Attorney, Assistant U.S. Attorney Joyce Lynn Ballantyne, assigned to the case, has advised us since Friday that they're working to unredact or redact certain parts of the documents that were filed under seal on Friday so that they can be disclosed publicly either tomorrow or Wednesday. It can't happen soon enough from my perspective.
Is Roger Stone going to go to jail on Thursday? Because he's scheduled to report for jail Thursday.
I have no idea. I would certainly hope not. I would think at the very least a court would grant him a stay pending his appeal.
Seriously?
There are serious issues in his appeal.
Well, I will tell you this. My sources are telling me tonight, Sydney, that in fact the Attorney General has seen a lot of this. And when I am told, it was breathtaking revelations. And
now, the fact that this information is coming forward now and the U.S. Attorney is working hard to both redact and unredact certain portions of it so it can be made public is a really good sign about justice returning to our system here in America. I sincerely hope that this information is out before Monday so that we can get a look at it before the weekend. General Flynn is going to be exonerated. And the more information we receive within the public domain just gives us a better idea of what the former corrupt administration was attempting to do and the holdovers left over in the DOJ were attempting to do to General Flynn and also people like Roger Stone. Please, we need to pray for both of these men. Now, finally, in newly released information from the Daily Caller, it appears that Christopher Steele, the author of the now discredited Dossier, had some additional meetings that were previously undisclosed. Meetings with lawyers for the DNC, Pkwy, and also the Clinton campaign. Now, this information was revealed by Steele last month in some testimony that he gave. He said that he met with Pkwy partners Michael Sussman and Mark Elias, and that it was Sussman who provided him with that now debunked tip that a Russian bank, Alpha Bank, had a secret communication channel with the Trump campaign. I'm sure that everyone remembers when that happened. It was all over the news. It was widely reported by the mainstream media, and it was very quickly debunked. Michael Sussman himself delivering that tip in a memo from September 14th, 2016, claiming that Alpha Bank with these illicit ties to Vladimir Putin were the ones with a backdoor for the Trump team. Now, a week after Steele got the initial info, he met with the other partner, that would be Mark Elias, where he was given more information. Now, Steele had to disclose these meetings that were previously unknown because Alpha Bank is suing him in a defamation lawsuit. Now, his testimony about Sussman and Elias provide insight for us on how deeply involved Pkwy was in the Trump investigation and in the fabrications that were created to try to take down President Trump. Pkwy did not respond for comment to this story. I would not want to respond if I was them as well. Now, Elias was also general counsel for the Clinton campaign. He's the one who hired Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS in turn picked up Steele, the former MI6 officer, to investigate Trump's possible ties to Russia, which just simply did not exist. Now, Steele, during his tenure with Pkwy and Fusion GPS, put together 17 memos alleging the Russian interference. Of course, the majority of them, if not all of them, have been debunked in the 40 months since BuzzFeed initially published the Dossier and the first report on what was happening in this investigation. Now, the IG, of course, also dealt a blow to Christopher Steele, showed that the information was flawed. Now, they also said that the apparent links between Alpha Bank and the Trump Organization simply did not exist. There are 3 owners of Alpha Bank, and they have sued Steele both here in the United States and in the UK over the memo. And in his testimony, Steele has made it abundantly clear that the first time he ever heard of such a charge was during that meeting with Mr. Sussman. So it looks to me like maybe Pkwy and Sussman and Elias are also looking at a possible lawsuit from Alpha Bank as well. This is great news. I love seeing Christopher Steele and this dirty dossier get picked apart, and it's just one more nail in the coffin for the fake Russia investigation that we have been inundated with over the last several years. Another day, another set of revelations as we get more information about the innocence of Michael Flynn, and hopefully something along those lines is going to happen for Roger Stone as well. Make no mistake, Attorney General William Barr is deeply invested in these cases. He is helping take a look at what took place so that we can restore justice and freedom here in America, and the people who perpetrated this crime upon the American public and these great men are certainly going to pay for their crimes. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, one more thing. It's Red Pill. I just want to say thank you once again to everybody that has helped to support the channel. If you'd like to get involved, you can go ahead and check the show notes in the pinned comment and the description. There's always good information in there. I've got a couple of backup channels. I ask that you go ahead and subscribe to them because if anything does happen here, I will start publishing there. And if you want things like merchandise or anything else, there is a bunch of information that you can find right below this video. All right, guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.